Hello, today I'm going to show you how I created the artwork of the Tawny Frogmouth birds. This one actually has an airbrushed background, which I did prior to starting on the coloured pencil work. And I just used an airbrush with masking fluid over the area that I wanted to keep white for the coloured pencil. Now here I've started blocking in with black pencil on the eyes, and also used several different browns, Sanguine, Caput, Mortuum Violet and Nougat on the eyes to get that nice colour. And then I went on to the feathers using warm grey 6, 5 and 3, as well as the white luminance pencil to get the effect of the feathers. I'm using tiny little strokes, not really focusing on the feather shapes. These birds don't have very distinct feathers around the face. The texture tends to look more like fur, really. So I've just done really tiny short strokes for the feather look. On the beak, I used a little bit of sky blue and Cobalt Blue-Greenish, and then also used greys and the white to sort of tone that down so it wasn't quite so blue. Their beaks had a nice blue tinge to it, so I made sure to add that. With the brown patches on the feathers, I've used Sanguine. With my layers, I'm just doing light layers of the pencil, not pressing very hard, so that I can build up multiple layers of colour. And then after I've done several layers, I then use an odourless solvent to blend it out. And that's what you see when I'm using the paintbrush. I'm adding a lot of highlights in with the white luminance pencil. That is a very nice opaque pencil and works very well coming over the dark colours. You won't get the paper back to like a very stark white, so if you want a really white area, you have to make sure you put the pencil down first to protect the paper from subsequent layers of colours. And to get all those really tiny lines, make sure that the pencil's nice and sharp make sure that those lines stay very crisp. Once the pencil starts getting dull, then you end up with thicker lines and it's harder to get those details. Here, just blocking in the second Tawny Frogmouth and just with the greys again, and adding Sanguine for the brown and the blues, sky blue and Cobalt Blue-Greenish on the beak. And further defining those shadows with the black pencil, just keeping light layers. And pay attention to your reference photo, as the feathers tend to go in all sorts of directions, especially those ones above the beak. They'll go in all sorts of ways, which if you don't pay attention to where they're going on the reference photo, you'll get them going in the wrong direction. You don't have to be exact to the reference photo, but just near enough is good, but make sure that they're in the right direction. Blocking in those same colours again. I ended up coming back later once I'd finished with some greens to draw in some of the colours from the background over it, but for now I'm just using those same greys and the Sanguine on the feathers. Keeping it simple to start with. Now onto the third bird, which is pretty much a repeat of the other two birds, and just the same colours and the same method of blocking in the shadowed areas on the bird first so that I don't lose where they are, and then building up the layers from there. And when I blend out with the odourless solvent, I don't put much on the brush. I usually wipe it off before putting it on the paper, just to make sure that you don't drench the paper. You only want a little bit. And definitely on later layers, you only put a tiny bit on your brush. Now onto the rest of the bird, just blocking in again, and keeping all my layers very light. And watching the direction of the feathers. At this point, they going down around the tummy of the bird. So they've got a slight curve to them. Now onto the branch. Now start with Caput Mortuum Violet and just start sketching in like the darker shadowed areas. I went over with black and then Naples yellow. And then I did Sanguine and then over with some of the warm greys before blending it out. As you can see, the background's quite green and warm, so I wanted to add that warm colour in the branch, which is why I added the yellow. I also went over with May Green, Earth Green, Yellowish, and later on I'd do a little bit of light phthalo green. With the branch, I'm not too worried about where all the little shadowed areas are. I didn't follow the reference photo very closely. I just sort of added them in where they looked right and made sure that most of the lines were sort of following the line of the branch. So in this one, it was quite horizontal, and that helps to make it look like the bark's going along the branch. And blocking in the shadowed areas on the trunk of the tree. I'm just using warm grey 5 on that. Now I just blocked in a lot of the warm grey 3 before adding Sanguine and the Naples yellow and a little bit of black as well. And blending that all out with the Odourless Solvent. As you can see, I'm keeping all my strokes going in roughly the same direction. That helps to give the effect of the way the bark is going on the tree. As you can see, I used the white luminance pencil a lot to put in highlights. It worked really well on the bark to add those highlights in with the white luminance pencil. The Naples yellow works really well on this particular tree, as I wanted the branch and the tree to look quite yellow and have that warm sort of glow to it, which that helped a lot to get that effect. And here just adding the final details to the artwork, making sure it all sort of goes well together. I used a bit of a luminance pencil called Primrose to add a little bit of a yellow tinge to the birds, and also used a lot of the green on the birds as well to make them sort of go better with the background and not be quite so separated from them. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.